today I have a comparison of the iPad Pro and the iPad 2017. Well, I call it the 2017. Apple calls it iPad Flat Out Fun. So I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison. I did it previously. Thought of making a video. I was getting a bit confused because I wanted to buy an iPad because I broke my last iPad. So I went to the Apple website, and as like with everybody, I tried to understand what is the real difference between the two iPads. So what I've done is I've made a video. I've put both of the iPads side by side. So on my right side I've got the iPad Pro, which is the super computer in two sizes. So you have the 9.7 inch and the 12.6 inch, 12.9 inch iPad. And on my left you have the iPad 2017, which is a 9.7 inch iPad. So let's start comparing them and see what is the actual difference between the two iPads. Right, so on the left we can see that the iPad instantly shows you the price, which is $339. So no questions, but definitely the iPad 2017 is much cheaper than the iPad Pro. What could be the reason? We just have to explore it a little bit more. So the iPad Pro, obviously, as you guys know, they come in two sizes, 9.7 inch and the 12.9 inch. And with the iPad, it's a 9.7 inch Retina display. It's got a 64-bit A9 chip, 10 hours of battery life, and so on. I'll run through the different options it carries in a bit. So the iPad Pro is obviously a Retina display, so both of them are a Retina display, so there's no difference over there. Size wise, okay, fine. The iPad Pro has got a 9.7 inch display, and it's got a 248 into 1536. So with the iPad 2017, it's got a Retina display, and here we go. So the Retina display is 9.7 inches and it's got a resolution of 2048 by 1536, which is absolutely the same as the iPad Pro. So there's no difference over there, and I can't spot any difference at the moment. So just going down, if I scroll down, as you can see, the iPad Pro has a wide color gamut, which is 25% greater in color saturation, whereas the iPad 2017, I think so, it doesn't have that feature. Apart from that, the iPad Pro has got 4-speaker audio, whereas the iPad, if you look in the corners, I just zoom in a little bit if I can, there are no speakers on the top, which tells us that it doesn't have those 4 speakers. So that's one of the difference. And as you can see over here, it's more exciting if you have the iPad Pro in your hand, and if you're watching a movie, you get sounds from all 4 corners, which is pretty interesting. So the iPad Pro has got an A9X chip, which is obviously it's faster, and whereas the iPad 2017 has got a 64-bit A9 chip. Now I'm not really sure if there is a direct difference between the A9 and the A9X. I'm guessing there would be a difference, but it won't be major. Maybe on some other videos you can check it out when they do these benchmarks. At that time there might be slight difference between the two chips, the A9X and the A9, which I'm guessing there might be. Then obviously it says over here the A9X is 1.8 times the CPU power of an iPad Air 2, and so on. Even complex actions like editing 4K video happens immediately. So if we just scroll up over here, as you can see, yeah, so there's basically nothing about 4K over here. Right. So so what I feel is that the iPad Pro, it's got a more powerful chip, and because of that you can do lots of stuff on it. Say you've got data intensive, graphic intensive applications like the one over here, which you can see is a 3D sample from AutoCAD, If you want to do stuff like that, then iPad Pro is pretty good, whereas I think that the iPad 2017 is just a basic sort of an iPad. But over here it tells us a little bit about the A9 chip. It says it delivers 10 hours of battery life, which is pretty much the same as the iPad Pro, but the iPad Pro has got an M9 core processor, but it still gives 10 hours of battery life. So that's saying that's that. So over 1 million apps, so apps would definitely be the same on both of the iPads. So now the iPad Pro, you can connect a keyboard with it, and you can even connect a pencil, whereas I think that the iPad 2017 you can't connect a keyboard and you can't use the Apple Pencil with it. So that is one of the major differences. Apart from that, if you just scroll down and if you just see the different features, I think you've got 240 frames per second slow-mo, whereas on the iPad it doesn't tell us anywhere. So I'm guessing that definitely then that's not going to be an option on the iPad 2017. Now on the iPad 2017 they are boasting about the Touch ID, which is obviously that's everywhere, even on an iPhone, so that's not really a comparison sort of a thing. Right, so if we scroll more down and we see the front and the back cameras, now this is where the difference really comes in, I think so. Yep, so it tells us over here, just going back to the camera thing, so it's 8 megapixel and that's the 12.9 inch iPad has got the 8 megapixel in comparison with the iPad 2017, and 1.2 megapixel for the FaceTime HD camera, whereas yes, the iPad 2017 has the same thing. It feels like the iPad Pro 12.9 inch wasn't selling, and so they've cramped up the different components to the iPad 2017, because if you see you've got 8 megapixel on the iPad 2017 with 1.2 front FaceTime HD camera, so that's pretty much the iPad. Apart from that, you've got 3 colors. You don't have the rose gold in the iPad 2017, which is another big difference, whereas on the iPad Pro you've got 4 colors. You've got the gold, you've got the space gray, silver, and the rose gold, which is pretty cool. So over here they're showing off 4 colors, which is pretty cool, whereas on the iPad 2017 you've got an option of 3 colors, as I told you. Now size wise, which is quite interesting, which most of you, and of course myself as well, was thinking what would be the big difference in the size. So the iPad, what they're saying here, it's 7.5 millimeters thin, the 2017, and it's 469 grams light, whereas the iPad 9.7 inches is 437, which is slightly lighter than the iPad 2017, and it's 6.1 millimeter thin, whereas the iPad 2017 is 7.5 millimeter thick. So it's slightly thicker than the iPad Pro, the iPad 2017. So there must be some sort of difference, probably the camera, probably some other things. I'm not sure about that, but I personally feel that it might be the camera module. They've moved it slightly in, and that's what's basically that's what's taking the extra 6.1 and the 7.5 inch difference, 7.5 millimeter difference. Now, as far as the speeds go, well, theoretically it can deliver up to 866 megabits per second. It's got 4G LTE, whereas the iPad Pro 9.7 and the 12.9 inch run on the Wi-Fi and 4G LTE as well. Interestingly, the iPad 12 inch, as you can see, it delivers sports 20 LTE bands, and over here it doesn't really tell us how many LTE bands does this one sport, but it says 150 megabits per second, which is 150 megabits per second for the iPad 12.9 inch. So And that's why I was thinking it might be the case that their iPad Pro 12.9 inch wasn't selling that much, so they reconfigured the technology and put it into the iPad 2017. So guys, that's pretty much it. If you are looking for a cheaper iPad, then definitely the iPad 2017 is good if you're not big of the Apple Pencil. As for me, I have the iPad Pro. I've used the Apple Pencil. It's pretty good, but I don't make much use of it. If on a normal basis, I think everybody would buy the iPad 2017. It's great. It's fast. It's got great features. You can watch movies, you can do all your day-to-day stuff, you can do all your social media stuff if you're not really want to do all your work on the computer, because to be honest, like they're showing in this small clip over here, as on the iPad Pro, that you can do lots of things, but it is extremely tedious even to write an email. So I'm not sure how you can really get your head around and not get tired of using a very small screen if you want to write emails, or if you want to do your day-to-day stuff, or if you want to do like this guy's drawing. Maybe drawing's fine, but I believe that the iPad 9.7 inch the 2017 is going to be a game changer in terms of sales. Yes, it's going to sell a lot. That's my personal view. So guys, this was my review of the two iPads. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up, and do subscribe to my videos. It's really important to me, and hope to see you in my next video, whatever comes up. So guys, see you then.